Alright, g'day, hi and welcome. Okay, so I got mini beast all fixed up here. I want to show you old friend. And something about it, because I got a... he probably could use a sharpening too, so I'll keep him out as well. Have him ready for Monday. I'll put that there. I'll put my tools away, but I'm going to show you old friend here. Now, old friend, this Echo, it's a 38-39cc Echo. And the bar on this thing is pretty... the bar is fine, sorry. But the chain on this thing is probably the original chain from... I placed this saw around the early 2000s, late 90s kind of saw. It runs great. I probably used it more than anybody else. It's a little heavy for its size, but it's still a very light saw. The chain on this thing is very, very rough. You can see the teeth are kind of rounded and whatever. And I've sharpened it about 10 times already. And it's starting to cut a bit better. Like there's still lots of tooth left on this chain, right? I mean, you can technically go back to the scribe line if you really want to get the max out of the chain. I'd replace it before that. But this chain is a good chain for what I call the Murphy chain. When you're cutting close to the ground, stuff like that. I'd rather have a spare chain for that one, just for that. Because that's what I did with the tree tangerine. So you're sharpening it all the time because you're hitting the dirt. There's you cut down a pine and there's nails in it from birdhouses. This is the saw I use for that. But this is the kind of get out of jail free saw. This is the rescue saw. So you know when somebody gets like their saw stuck in a tree or whatever? That's never happened to me. And you got the saw sitting there in the tree, and you need a spare saw to come along and cut it out. That's never happened to me. But if it ever did, this would be probably the saw I would use as a rescue saw. But you need to have it sharp enough that it will do the job, right? So even though most chains will never cut as good as they are when they're new, a lot of these chains, you know, like I don't replace, like, well, again, this is probably the original chain for this saw, which is crazy when you think about it, how old that is. But it gives you an idea how much cutting you can do with a chain. Like, the tree tangerine, I've now sold it to my dad, and I don't use that one anymore, but I probably sharpen that at least 3 times a week, sharpen that chain. Just from hitting, you saw all the stuff, I hit metal with it, I hit fences with it, whatever. And I kept basically Mini Beast there as the good chain, so that I know that chain's reliable, that if I have to cut something down, I know I got the gut run to get through it. When he threw the trigger yesterday, I had to finish up like a fruit tree that I was cutting. So that's like really, really, really hard. It's a pear tree. The stuff's like ironwood or almost like elm, like really, 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 really dense wood. And I had to finish up like a you know, right at the, like, if you look at like where the crotch of the tree is, they call it, basically where the branch is, you know, or where you get like a V. That's usually right where the hardest part of the tree is. Right? So when you cut there, that's why it's always best to cut below or above the knot, so to speak, because that's right where the tree is the hardest, right? And I had to cut that with this, and it was a good chunk of it. Basically, the bar was about 1 inch too short from what I was doing, and I was on the ladder, and I was like trying to cut it off because it grew into the roof, right? This part of the tree grew into the roof. And I got this sharp enough that I was able to do it, but you could tell that the saw was running a little bit over revving trying to do it because the chain wasn't quite up to the task. And you can burn out a saw very easily like that. So what I try to do is get my chains as reliable as possible. Now this chain is a little bit too small from my other chain on my still whatever, but I don't know if it's the same pitch as the chain on my 160, aka Ninja Shark. If it is, I might swap out the bar and chain and put it on there. That would be a really good bar and chain for good cutting, and then for all the crappy stuff, leave this chain. But that said, you just got to sharpen it much more. And again, a lot of these chains, people sharpen, like they're sharpened, but it's not cutting. It's like, why is it not cutting? I just sharpened it. 9 times out of 10, and this is what I'm going to be working on today, is you didn't do your rakers. Once the raker gets higher than the tooth can't cut. You know what I mean? It's just basic physics here. So you can see like this here, I mean, some of these are probably damaged from God knows what kind of abuse this poor saw. The very little use that other people did to the saw, they probably didn't realize that it needed to be sharpened and stuff like that. So it's taken me probably about 10 sharpenings just to get it to cut the way it is now. And today, now that I have a little bit of time, really good sharpen saw. It's like cut through a tank, right? But you got to do your rakers. You got to do all that. That said, even if you got damaged teeth on it, these aren't that bad. You know, they're coming back. It's just there's a few that are a bit rounded off, and I gotta, you know, like this one here's, you know, probably rock or whatever. Again, I don't know who uses the saw other than me and the previous owner, and he didn't use the saw very much, so it could have been his sons used it. And again, they're not really savvy with that stuff, so they wouldn't know. You know, most homeowners buy these saws and they don't realize the upkeep that they require. But that said, if you get a chain, it takes a lot to bring a chain back, but when you got this much tooth, you've got stuff to sharpen. And if you got stuff to sharpen, you can bring the chain back. You might not cut as good as a brand new chain, but it will cut well. But if you need to have a chain, like when I do replace this chain, I'm keeping that chain, and I'll just keep it as the Murphy chain, the one that, okay, there's some old pallets to cut up and there might be nails in it. You know what I mean? Don't wreck your good chain. Wreck an old piece of crap chain, right? So anyway, I just thought I'd make that little, you know, something for you guys out there that might not think about that. Don't always wreck your good chain, and don't throw away your old bars and chains. Like I can guarantee you, if I sawed into something like that, maybe not quite that big, but if I did saw into something like that, I bet you I can see the cut would go like this or like this, because, you know, the chain's out of whack. But I bet you it would cut it, you know, because again, I was cutting really extremely dense wood yesterday, even though not very big. Well, big enough. I took up the whole board. You know, it was sharp enough that it did it. It's just it didn't do it quite efficiently as I would have liked. So after today, I'm sure it's going to cut really well. I'll probably get definitely the rest of the season out of this, and if I can get another chain on there that's really good, this saw is going to cut twice as good, and I'll be able to cut maybe not everything I could do with Ninja Shark, because Ninja Shark was a MS260, and those are bang for the buck, probably one of the best 50cc saws you can possibly ever get. This is 39cc's, it'll do the job. You know, it doesn't have the power of that, but with a really good bar and chain, you'd be surprised what you cut through. If this thing had a new bar and chain on it, yes, I would cut down a tree that big with it, because it'll do it. It's not ideal, but it will do it. Yeah, so anyway, there we go. So that's the rescue saw. That's the bar and chain thing, little tip I've got for today. And we'll see what he does next week, because these two saws have a lot of trees on the list. I've already got like about 30 trees on the list so far this year. So there we go. All right, have yourselves a great day.